the 2024 legislative session. They have 2 short months to get this all done. Hundreds of bills have already been pre-filed before today's opening session.
But we want to highlight the issues that will dominate this year. Fox 13's Hana Kim is there to dissect the complicated agendas impacting all of us. Hannah.
Yes, it is complicated for sure, you guys. David and Nia, thank you for that. Now, we talked to Senator John Braun. He's on the Republican side, and we wanted to get his take on the $70 billion budget proposal by Governor Inslee, how he feels about that. And also, he is passionate about education and the state of education in our state. So take a listen to our conversation that we had just a short time ago. So, Senator Braun, you are the leader on the Senate side for your Republicans. So what do you think about the $70.9 billion budget proposed by Governor Inslee? How would you describe it? Excessive, right amount? What do you think?
Well, I think he's putting us at some risk, and we have a very robust underlying budget that was approved last year, actually on a fairly bipartisan basis. It's very aggressive in many areas, and he adds just about $2 billion to that. I think that's too much spending. We have some, nobody knows for sure, but we have likely some uncertain economic times in front of us. I think we'd be better off to keep some more of that money in reserve, let the budget play out as it is. And there are certainly some limited investments we need to make, but nothing near the size of what the governor proposes.
Well, Governor Inslee passed the Commitment Act, the Climate Commitment Act, and it has brought in about $1.8 billion, and that is where you are flush with money. There is now a movement by a group called Let's Go Washington. They want to repeal that Climate Commitment Act. Are you concerned about it being repealed, or are you in support of it being repealed?
Well, that hasn't been certified yet, but personally I support the repeal. I think that's the wrong way. Now, certainly we
Why do you support the repeal?
Well, certainly we should be focused on our climate, but I think we're doing it the wrong way. This is Washington. We can be more innovative. What this bill does is really just a tax on working Washingtonians. We're trying to fix the climate entirely on the backs of working Washingtonians instead of being more innovative. There are better ways to do more for our climate. We should explore those. This has been very harmful to folks who are having trouble affording to work, just the fuel to get back and forth to work.
So you blame it for the high gas prices?
Absolutely. There's no question about that.
And so if this were to be repealed, we're talking about $1.8 billion gone. What does that mean for the budget?
Well, the way this is proposed, that money wouldn't be gone. That money has been collected. It's there. It's going to get
spent. For previous year, for future, I mean.
Yeah, for future years. Look, the way that money is spent is very limited. That money doesn't go towards the general operating budget. None of that money affects the roughly $70 billion operating budget. That money mostly goes out in the capital budget and other very specific expenses. So they're really kind of apples and oranges. But the reality is the money that has been collected would still be there, and it would hopefully get spent well. But in the future, we'd find a better way to deal with climate change issues.
So that's going to be one of the things that you're pushing for. Also, one bill that I thought was interesting that you have proposed, sounds like it has a hearing this week, is chronic absenteeism in our students.
Yeah, so one of the big things we hear about that we've been focused on for the last couple of years, right, is the learning loss suffered by our children during the pandemic. Washington has fallen behind, and we really haven't caught up. And particularly, that's true for kids who are struggling with academically, economically, socially, emotionally. They are not back on track. One of the very first things you can do to help get them back on track is get them in the classroom. And we have a real issue statewide with chronic absenteeism. What that means is they're missing more than 10% of the days of school. The data is clear. When they miss that much school, they fall further behind. We don't get them caught back up.
And some kids are actually going to school, but they're actually not going to classes.
Yeah.
Is that a trend, a new trend?
I was surprised. Our kids, my wife and I, our kids are a little older, so I wasn't tuned into this. But as I started to look into it, yeah, that's a thing. It's not just not going to school. It's going to school, but not going to class. They call them hall rovers. They just go to school, but they never show up in class. We need to find ways to make sure these kids are in class. It's just one step, but it's an important step to getting them back on track.
As far as academics go, is that your focus mainly for
Yes.
the educational bill?
That's right. That's right. I mean, when you look at the test scores, only 1 in 3 are passing in reading and math. We need to do much better if we're going to set these kids up for success in a university or career, wherever they head, and we're not doing that right now. We have to get them a better academic grounding. You can't do that without them being in the classroom.
All right. I know that there's so many bills. We don't have enough time, but thank you for, some of that insight on those bills.
You bet.
And so you heard there John Braun talking about chronic absenteeism. He wants to collect data and he wants to pinpoint the students who are not going to class to reach out to them in a more systemic way to help them out. So we're going to follow that bill closely. And also there's so many bills. We're talking about hundreds of bills, some of them very interesting. So we're going to try to dive more into those coming up for you at 5:30. For now in Olympia, Hana Kim, Fox 13 News.
All right, thank you for the